Hi, I'm Lily Bosanki, and I'm here to talk for Marissa Metter's section in Activism Club about student-athlete exploitation. To start off with, I am in cross country, which is a fall sport, and I am in track, a distance runner, which is a spring sport. So I remember in 8th grade, I started out with cross country, and my two middle school coaches, who was middle school teachers, I had them for a year, and they were fantastic coaches in my opinion. They were always supportive. They were so nice. They were so just awesome with us and other kids. It wasn't until earlier this school year, allegations came out and all these other things came out about one of the middle school coaches that was definitely inappropriate and illegal, pretty much, and it had to do with minors and everything like that. And he lost his job because of it. And it was really disheartening and disappointing and saddening to me to see one of my favorite teachers and favorite coaches of all time to come out as a predator and just an unsafe person to be around. Because I never personally got that vibe from him. I never felt unsafe. I never felt threatened. And I never got that, creepy man vibe from him. He was so nice to me all the time. And it was just really disappointing to see him turn out like that. And it was a wake-up call for me to realize you can't trust male coaches as much as you want to. Even if they're the nicest coaches, they're so supportive of you, stuff like that, you just can't trust them fully. And that's really disappointing because I shouldn't have to feel like that as a woman at my high school, that I can't trust these coaches or teachers because they might turn out to be a predator. So my middle school experience was good, and I never had bad experiences with my coaches. It wasn't until this year those allegations came out. So I get into high school. I still do cross country and track. So at the time there were two main coaches. One of the coaches is still here. The other coach, you probably know who I'm talking about, but he earlier this year, a girl came out with a bunch of allegations against him about how he was abusive to her and was being inappropriate to her, touched her, and just said and did inappropriate things with her. And I totally see where she's coming from now that I think about it. Now that I'm older, I realize some of the things he used to do or say, or in general, some of the things were just not appropriate and just very weird and unusual now that I think about it. And I didn't realize that at the time because I was, a freshman girl. The main thing is he would invite the entire team out to spend the night in his backyard, which, that's odd in itself. But personally, I was like, the whole team's gonna be there. The other coach is gonna be there. I feel pretty safe around this coach, that he probably has permission from the school to be doing this. Turns out he didn't, and I would have never gone to one of those cookouts if I knew it wasn't allowed by the school. So that's one thing. Another thing is my freshman year wasn't that bad, but my sophomore year, it got pretty bad with him pushing us to extents that aren't good for high schoolers and stuff. If it was an Olympic level or a collegiate level, then I would understand where he's coming from. But at this point, he would push us way too hard. For instance, one time, it was a heat advisory out. It was over 100 degrees. He had us run to Pioneer Park and do 2 workouts when we should only be doing 1 workout at a time. He fit in 2 workouts, and this was also the day the school ran out of air conditioning. So we were already hot. We weren't supposed to be exercising outside per the weather people. And he still made us do that. And I remember several girls were passing out. There were a bunch of injuries, and there were also other practices where people would get injured because it was his fault. He would have kids be hauling buckets of rocks and crazy stuff like that in the heat of the day, when it's over 100 degrees out, and just stuff like that would coaches shouldn't be doing that. If they shouldn't be pushing us that hard to the point where we're getting injured. So yeah, that's like the biggest problem I've ran into. I never felt threatened personally by him. I never felt unsafe, but I can totally see where other girls have had those experiences with him. So that's with my cross country coaches that have been problematic. The ones who have not been problematic, they're pretty good coaches. They're encouraging and stuff, but at times, I've seen this in all coaches, by the way. I've never met like a coach that hasn't been like this, but all of them have had some level of favoritism towards faster kids, whether that be like varsity or just like, just fast kids, Uh they tend to like cater to them more. They're always encouraging them, they're always giving them tips, talking to them, and just catering to them in general. And that's really disappointing to see, because how are slower kids and less abled kids supposed to get better if they're too busy catering to the faster kids who are already getting and receiving all this attention and praise? So that's one of the problems I see in athletics, is favoritism and unfair treatment among like different ranges and levels of skill in kids. So yeah. Another topic that was on the document that I filled out for Activism Club was how sports and school interacts with each other. Personally, for me, sports do benefit my mental health at times. And yeah, if sports are not my top priorities. It's always school and my mental health that's my top priority. And if sports start taking up my mental health and my energy, and it's just starting to be too much on me, then I hold back on the sports. I take things easier, and maybe I'll even like considering taking a break or just stop doing the sport in general. So my advice to any like student athletes, if the sport does not benefit you, if you do not like the sport, don't do it. There are so many other ways you can get a healthy body and healthy mind that are not through school sports. I think this school system puts pressure on students to be a student athlete way too much, to like, be on varsity and get good grades and honor roll, and that's just not realistic in some scenarios, because I can see how damaging it could be to balance sports and schools if you aren't like in a good place. So yeah, I just don't think that should be a pressure on kids, especially if like kids are at different skill levels and they don't have the money or they aren't able to do sports. I think that's unrealistic expectation in some ways. So yeah. And I think that's about all that I have about my experience as a student athlete. Thank you, Marissa, for giving me a chance to share my experience, and yeah, have a good day.